right, welcome back to Videoguys Live. Today's show is a special EduStreamTV show. EduStream is something that we at Videoguys have set up as a way to educate those people in the education business about video technology and how it can be used in your classrooms, in your college, in your university, for your athletics, for your graduation, for whatever you need. Today's show, we're going to concentrate on K-12 schools, tips and tricks for lecture capture, remote production, live video streaming for education. And we're going to talk a little bit about hybrid education as well. That's where you're mixing both live and remote. And I'm going to remind everyone at the end of the show, I'm going to be giving you a link where you can sign up for a free copy of Wirecast Pro. That's a $7.99 value. You don't have to be an educator to win that prize. Anyone watching the show can win that prize. All right, my motto for this year, and I think this really applies to education in this school year, even more so than the business of streaming, was in 2020, we started live streaming. In 2021, we're doing it better. If you're a school, if you're an organization, in 2020, you just made it work. It wasn't necessarily the prettiest, it wasn't the easiest, it wasn't the best, but you made it work. And in 2021, we're going to make it work better, look better, and easier to do. So today's show's going to focus on that. We've done some shows over the last year on using video remote learning and stuff like that. So we're not going to rehash the stuff we've done. We're really going to talk about how you could take what you built on in 2020 and take it further to the next level for your live video streaming or remote teaching or remote learning. All right, so how has live production different in the classroom today? Well, let's remember back in 2020, we had remote teaching. You sat in front of a camera, a webcam, or the camera built into your laptop, a Chromebook. You looked right into it. You served your presentation. If you wanted to show the kids something that was on the PowerPoint or on the lesson, you became a postage stamp or you weren't on the screen. You asked and controlled the students' participation, and the student involvement was kind of like on a Zoom or a Google Meets, and you guys did a great job. All the educators would be complimented. You made lemonade out of those lemons. The kids learned, the kids moved on, and we had a successful year in many school districts throughout the country, whether they're remote or partial remote or what have you. But I think what we have to look at is a hybrid future. And what a hybrid future is going to be a future where we're going to have people in the classroom and some people remote, and we have to teach them at the same time. That adds some complexities because we think we're going to need 1 or 2 cameras to follow you. You get presentation materials can be anywhere in front of the room. We want the students to participate more, and we want students in the class to be able to control the discussion while still having the kids at home participate and learn from it. But I think one of the things that, as a teacher, and I'm not a teacher, but I'm on my local board of ed, so I deal with education a lot, and I love teachers and administrators, but sitting in front of a screen is not the way to do this. When you can have a camera that can show you, where you can show the stuff you're talking about and pointing to, here's this list of stuff that you need to do and learn, and the people can see your face and your reactions at the same time they're seeing the screens, well, it works better. Just look at our show. If I was a talking head on a Zoom, everyone would have changed the channel by now or gone someplace else. But because we have interesting content and we give you some lower thirds and graphics and other stuff, it makes the show more interesting. So what can we do to make live production in schools better? Well, there's a few things, and that is we need to improve our technology, first of all. We're going to go with multiple cameras, some graphics, presentations, so we can add production value and engage the students. I think we have to use content that we're producing ahead of time to bring into our lessons, but at the same time having live lessons, the same thing. So if there's something that's a little bit where live isn't as easy for you to deliver, you could do it a couple of takes, a couple of tries, and then put it into your show. And then you can also, broadcast meetings, concerts, sports, and live events, which is all so much more better. And one of the things I want to remind everyone why we think hybrid's so important is because the students can be there in class with you, but that hybrid lesson lives on. It could be in a share folder or on the YouTube page for your school or for you in your classroom, where your kids can use that lesson to help them learn and reinforce what they've learned in the classroom as well. So the first thing that I think a lot of people realized is they need more than a webcam, and one of the first things you can get is a PTZ camera. We've got PTZ cameras, they're starting at prices at about $1,000 on up much higher to $2,500 or $3,000, but we think what you're seeing in this is pretty much the range, And that could be a still camera that's just a box camera that focuses on you alone, but maybe from the back of the room, or a PTZ means pan, tilt, and zoom. And that's a camera that you can have that can be focused on you as the teacher, but it could also move around the room, so it could point at, let's say, the skeleton if you're doing a biology lesson, or it could point to the map, and you could still be teaching in front of the map that you use, or maybe it's just a chart of times tables that you're using, where you could be in it, and really it's the feeling of being more in your classroom than being in a can kind of watch a video situation. So PTZ cameras, number one way. We have USB cameras that you can plug in, and now you can bring in a much better image into your Zoom or Google Meets. So this is something that comes from our prior shows, but we wanted to go, when you have to teach to the students in your classroom and remotely, there's some tricks that you have to take into account. One of them is privacy, and we understand that. So you want to position a camera in a way that you don't have to worry that you're going to give up the privacy of some of the kids in your classroom. Now, your district may say that all the kids are in the classroom together. We're okay having a camera looking at the kids. You may even have a camera pointed at the kids for that reason, but we understand the privacy concerns. But the reason why we really like the PTZ, if you can bring this up again full screen, Adam, I want to stress is, you see we have three views. We have the first view, which is the teacher sitting in front of the laptop or computer. Now, that's still a little bit better than just that screen that's focused on you, because you're going to see that you're in front of a computer, but it can still be pretty zoomed in. The other one is maybe when you're standing up and you're in front of a whiteboard. And the third view is a little wider view that maybe is in front of a smartboard or a manipulative, like I said, the skeleton, the example of the map that I've given you. And once again, we'll take all this output from these cameras and we'll send it out to the Zoom. And by using the PTZ cameras, the teacher can be more free to move around and walk around and point to stuff and point to that. And one of the tips that I want to make that's not in here that's real important, but I do it here, is we use these little Rode wireless mics. And using a wireless mic is just key to freeing you from the laptop. So we didn't put this in here, but really one of the important things you're going to want to invest in is some inexpensive wireless microphones. All right, this is something that I really want to stress to more of the principals and the administrators and the tech people within schools and school districts, especially public schools, and that is that let's learn from the private sector. In the private sector, when the world shut down, a lot of companies set up what they called a huddle room, which was not a full conference room, but a small room where maybe 2 or 3 people could be in it, and it had the technology to allow you to communicate with other people. Now, that could be via Zoom or via other methods of a straight stream out, or however you wanted to do it. But the key to that huddle room, it was a small, controlled environment, and you can use it. Well, I think every school should do is you can find a small room, 10 by 10, it could be an old big book room closet maybe that's available, where you can set up a green screen on a wall. You could set up some cameras, set up some basic rudimentary switching gear. We're going to get to that later, but look at this list. If you can bring this up, I can read it off while it's here. I'm going to go, but you can use it for remote teaching. You can have a teacher be able to use it to record their own online lessons. You can do it for staff development. You can use it for team meetings between buildings, remote team meetings with parents, community communications. Maybe the principal wants to address the whole community about people being a little disorderly on the pickup or drop-off line, whatever that is. You can use it for messages for building leaders, like I said. And once you have it, you'll find so many other great ways to use it that I guarantee it'll be booked full time. Every teacher, when they're on their break, every now and then is going to want to use that room to do something in it, because it's fun to do. And I think it's also important because by giving teachers the opportunity to go in this room to produce stuff that's a little bit higher content, it also reminds them that they have to keep that technology as part of their tools in their toolbox as a teacher, but hopefully we'll never have to be 100% virtual and remote again. But I do love the idea of this. I also think one of the things I think is really cool about this is, let's say you're elementary schools and you've got 3 or 4 elementary schools in your district and they all work together. Well, maybe there's an elementary teacher who's just, boy, this guy's just great at teaching fractions. Get him in the room, let him record his lesson, let all the teachers integrate that lesson into their lesson. Maybe another teacher does a great little bit on Christopher Columbus or on the American Revolution. Let those great lessons that exist there, don't just have them written down in a course outline. Let's get that great teacher teaching it, and there's no reason why you can't play a little quick lesson that's 10 or 15 minutes that helps in the room while you're in your class. Just because someone else is teaching it, maybe they got a little better. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Use what they have, and use if every teacher, if you've got 20 teachers between those elementary schools and everyone contributes one great lesson a year, by the end of a couple of years, you've got quite a portfolio of fantastic lessons that students can use as study guides, that you can use for indoctrinating and teaching new teachers into your district. I just love the thought of using video and videos that the school has produced for your own school, but beyond your classroom. Just because you have one class and you can only affect 15, 20, or 25 kids doesn't mean that great lesson can't be brought to hundreds of kids, and maybe it can even be shared outside your district. But just my thoughts on that. And a huddle room like this is a great way to give teachers a comfortable space where they can sit down, work, learn the technology, and present those lessons that can become really gold nuggets for your district. So here's a little example of what I'm saying you would need for this room. And this is really for like that tech teacher, or the tech person who's in it. So I'm suggesting that you get one PTZ camera and one box camera. The box camera is a stationary camera in the back of the room that can be zoomed in, but it doesn't pan, tilt, or zoom. And then a PTZ camera that you can have otherwise that could be controlled. I want a PTZ controller in there so you can actually move the PTZ camera if you need to during the lesson. And then you want some kind of video production switcher or computer. And then you also want something like I use here, like a laptop or a Chromebook or an iPad, whatever your school's using, for your teacher to have his lesson or his materials on. So my materials could be on here. I could be feeding that into my mixer via HDMI output of my laptop. And then the mixer could be doing some basic mixing. And I've got some examples of two great products in here that I think are great for that. And that's the Pearl Mini and the YOLO Box Pro, because both those are inexpensive, easy to use systems that you're not going to need a whole lot of training to, but allow you to integrate not just two sources of video and the source of your PowerPoint or whatever is on your computer screen, but you can also bring in your own graphics and other things that you want to set up, lower thirds, whatever it want to be, to reinforce, to help to make your production more enjoyable to watch for whatever you're doing at that time. So just a little example, there's not a whole lot of crazy technology. A lot of these products I pick simple products that are easy to use, easy to set up, that the teacher in the room can run the production themselves, or one other person with the teacher could help them. But my thought here was a room, a safe space where a teacher can sit with technology, maybe do a green screen if they want to, or they could be in front of a bookcase, whatever you want to set up in your room, where the technology is not overwhelming, easy to teach them how to use it, but where they can produce some really A+ content and lessons for your students. So my little talk on that, and I really think it's a great idea. And all the stuff you see in here, is not really that expensive, and it can really let you up your game in your building or in your district by adding it. So huddle rooms for teachers, huddle rooms for education, that's my suggestion, that you really look into that. One of the biggest advantages of live video that we found in live streaming is it's a great way to reach out and connect with your community. And that's doing things like graduations, award ceremonies, student news, sports, guest lectures, classroom lessons, you name it. And one of the things I want to stress here is that even without a world where there's any restrictions on how many people can come into a room, how great is it that you can now have a graduation where grandma and grandpa in Arizona can watch it? Where, what's beeping? Is that me? I'm sorry. Okay. Where, your sporting games can be presented and streamed live, so that, if you've got some kids who are on the team, and they're being recruited by different, colleges, the colleges can watch those games live and see them, where you can have someone do a guest lecture where someone can come into your school who maybe is maybe they are a local business person, or maybe there's someone who's got experience, with a life lesson, someone who works with your local hospital, wants to give a health lesson to people, or maybe it's a local business person giving like a finance lesson for the high school kids, or maybe it's just teaching kids about, financial aid or something. You can stream that to everyone so that you can reach more people in your community, not just those who could attend that event that night. So community outreach, concerts and events, sports, and of course school board meetings, other things that you can do with a live production system. All right, so this was like, what can we do to make things better? And I think, that was one of the topics I started with the show. I said in 2020, we made things work. In 2021, we make them work better, look better, and easier to do. So let's see, we want to add multiple cameras to our production. That instantly gives us production quality. With PTZ cameras and controllers, we don't need camera people in the room. And then even better, if we're in a lecture center type situation or a larger room, there's auto tracking software now that will actually allow you to move around and the camera will track with you. Now I want to talk about what you could do if you're a teacher who wants to do a little bit more. And this goes back to the huddle room, or you can use it for your own classroom. But I find Zoom fatigue Google Meets fatigue is a real thing. And one of the real problems is you don't have that contact with the human being when the content is up there. And if you look at this situation, you know, I'm showing here, and now we just went to the slide full screen. Now we're going to cut back. We're going to cut back to me talking on the side full screen. And you can see this, like, now I'm really giving you a good point, like, you know, don't forget in 1776, you know, American Revolution, very important, or don't forget that 120 divided by 430, whatever you want to say is your math fact or your science fact. You get right in there, you get people's attention, you can come back to the other cut, and now you're up there with your presentation materials at the same time. You don't need an expensive studio. We're doing it here with an expensive studio, but we got 3 great items here that I want to show you that allow you to mix 2 or more HDMI sources, which means your laptop can be brought in as a video source as well as multiple cameras. They also have the ability to load graphics that you can bring up, like not necessarily the lower third we have here, which is a little more fancy, but something simple as a graphic. So that's the RGB Link Mini, the Roland VR1, and the YOLO Live YOLO Box Pro. All good products, and the RGB Link has the Mini Plus, the Mini Pro. YOLO has the YOLO Box and the YOLO Box Pro. Roland's got several affordable mixers in the $1,000 range. This is what I'm suggesting you could use as a teacher or as a principal to put into your building for people to use, where they can make more interesting, more engaging content, because Zoom meetings just aren't engaging. We're worn out on them, but it doesn't mean that we can't use remote learning and remote teaching, and virtual lessons and recorded lessons is a great way to reach kids and is a great way to teach people. I'm not saying it'll ever replace in person. That's not what we're trying to do. But what we're trying to say here is that there's a way to complement what you're doing in that classroom. There's a way to make it look a lot better to the participants at home, your students. This is where we're going to plug what we do a little better, and we're going to say Videoguys is your source for PTZ cameras. You guys, you can look at this array of stuff here, and you can see we've got a whole bunch of gear on the table now. I'm not planning on touching or going into this stuff directly with you. You know, we've done multiple shows on it on our PTZ cameras and our encoders and things like that, but you know, we've got PTZ cameras from PTZ Optics, Huddle Cam, Bird Dog, NewTek, RGB Link, and Panasonic. We've also got encoders. Encoders are what takes your video image from your camera or from your mixer and lets you stream it and record it. So we have them from Epiphan, LiveView, and Matrox. And then we've also got live production switches, which is more involved. This is where if you want to put something to do, you know, your plays, your graduations, where you want to do multiple cameras, you want to do graphics, you want to do images, and get into something a little bit more sophisticated. So one of the things I want to talk about now, and this is for, let's say, take a little break now. We're going to talk about, this is now not really for the teachers, it's more for the tech departments and the principals and those techie, geeky people that we love who are into video in your schools. And it's about a technology called NDI. And NDI was a technology developed by NewTek, and it basically allows you to replace standard video cables and use standard network cables that you used to. So you don't need special HDMI or SDI cables. You can use network cabling to send video over the network, and more importantly, you can also get control and other information from the devices. They can talk to each other and intercommunicate, so that you can actually create a complete production where all the video and all the control and all the content is flowing over your standard network. Now, we've done a lot of shows on NDI, and we have NDI mixers, which would be, you know, hardware like TriCasters or Wirecast gear, or software like vMix or Wirecast or OBS. And then we have cameras and encoders and things like that. But the main thing I wanted to talk about now was we're really happy to announce that we now have NDI optimized switches from Netgear. And that is real important, because I know if you're in the IT department of a school, putting video in throughout your school is something that, you know, you probably weren't too thrilled about, but you had to do in 2020. Well, in 2021, a Netgear switch is a way that if you want to set up an NDI studio, it is so much easier to do. And these switches are all optimized for NDI. We have some videos we've posted online on our blog and on our website that explain how easy they are to set up. But I want to stress here, they have power over Ethernet. They have enough wattage to run multiple cameras. You can get them with a 10 gig uplink through SPF+. Great network device is so easy to configure. So if you've been wanting to try using IP video, NDI video in your school system, but you've been a little nervous about it, setting up one of these Netgear switches and then having all the NDI products in the NDI studio talking to that, and then having it reach out to your broader network is definitely the way to go. And we're more than happy to talk to you about these products. We love them and they're fantastic. All right, I promised it on the EduStream website. We're going to have some case studies and stuff. So I want to talk about those case studies a little bit. You know, we have one from a school called Whitney High School that they're using Wirecast, and you know, they really found that they could use it really well, you know, to make their systems and their productions better. We have a New Tech story that I want to play a little clip from that the New Tech did as a case study.
It's hard not to know about Warrior TV. The program is very well known in the community and is very well regarded in the community. I know an example where a lady is on a walker and she can't get there to see our son play, but she can watch it on Warrior TV.
New Tech, we have been there from the beginning. You're looking inside of the control center for Warrior TV. Everything that we do is NDI based. We have the New Tech TC1 that does all the switching here. Over my left shoulder is the New Tech 3P 3-play.
We just kind of throw them in there. We let them use the robotic cameras. We let them do the instant replay. We let them do TriCaster. And from there, they really kind of run with it. There are kids now who can just sit there and they have learned stuff that we didn't teach them.
I think if you would come and just sit in that classroom and feel the excitement of kids coming in the classroom, watch a broadcast, a football broadcast. I don't think there's a price tag that you could put on that. And I believe, you know, for some of our students, that's why they come to school.
Now, I know I told you that in a future show we're going to concentrate on, you know, sports, educational sports, but this is a great case study from White County High School who's using New Tech TriCasters, 3-play, and PTZ NDI cameras to do their video and sports shows that's up there, and this is available also on the EduStreamTV website. And then we've got one more video from PTZ Optics that did some stuff with Rosemont College using PTZ cameras and live streaming equipment to create a hybrid classroom.
Today, we are going to meet an innovative professor who is using the audiovisual technology installed in her classroom to create a hybrid learning experience for both in-person students and remote learning.
I need the cameras to keep everyone engaged and feeling connected. At any given time when I'm teaching, I do have students in person in the classroom, and I also have students coming into that same class through Zoom. So I use the PTZ Optics cameras to help the students to see one another, to possibly, you know, using the camera in the back of the room, I can have the remote learners see me standing in the front of the room lecturing. If their classmates are speaking, I can use a different camera so that the remote learners can watch their classmates speaking. I definitely need those cameras to keep the remote and in-person students engaged in the one class.
And that finalizes and sums up our show today on Videoguys Live. It was all about K-12 making your video remote learning better. I want to once again talk to you about EduStreamTV.com. That's the website we've set up as Videoguys to really help educators learn more about live video production, video streaming, remote learning, remote teaching, using the technology we sell from PTZ cameras to mixers to switchers to full-blown production gear to create and give a better, more engaging lesson for your students and to reach out to and communicate with your community. I told you there was going to be a free giveaway, so let's talk about that. Wirecast Pro. Register and to learn more about our upcoming academic events at EduStreamTV.com. Register to win Wirecast Pro, a $7.99 value. And just a free gift for you doing that. We will have future EduStream shows over the coming weeks. We were going to try to do a whole week of EduStream, but in looking at where we were and teachers are so busy and what's going on, we thought it would be better to just have maybe like one show every 4 to 6 weeks where we'll focus on education. We'll call those under the EduStream TV. So EduStreamTV.com, a website we set up with tons of information just for educators, teachers, to learn more about how to use video in their classroom, in their schools, in their facilities, to engage with their students and their community. We think it's a good thing. We think you'll like it. Stop by, register. Maybe you'll win Wirecast Pro. All right, that concludes our show today. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our show. I'm doing the mass flash through because usually I have that final screen at the end, but we kind of forgot it. So here we go. EduStreamTV, Videoguys Live. I hope you learned a lot today. This is Gary from Videoguys, thanking you for tuning in. Remember, every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, we teach you about the technology we sell, the products, and all that other good stuff. All of the products that I mentioned in today's show have multiple blog articles, videos, and other good stuff on our website that you can find. So just go to videoguys.com, click under articles, scroll through, and find the product news that interests you. And once again, the videos that we mentioned, the case studies that we talked about, are available on EduStreamTV.com. So this is Gary from Videoguys. See you next week. Peace.
Thank you for watching this week's Videoguys Live Webinar. We go live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to our Facebook and YouTube pages with the latest news on live streaming, video editing, and video storage technology. Join us next week for a great webinar on some LiveU Solo and LU300 bundles. Videoguys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.